This was me, by the way. This was me. Not kidding.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interaction.
Watch this.
This episode covers driver's licenses, citations, and qualified immunity, and is brought to us by Daily Driven Exotics' channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Sometime in May of 2018, YouTuber, entrepreneur, and supercar enthusiast Damon Fryer was traveling through Beverly Hills, California when he was stopped by an officer from the Beverly Hills Police Department.
How's it going?
How are you?
Good, thanks. Can I see your driver's license, please?
Yeah, sure.
You have your registration and insurance?
Yeah.
What an ugly fucking dashboard Lambos have. Jesus
Excuse me?
Christ.
What brings you to California?
Why would that be any of your business? I'm just hanging out.
Because you have a Canada driver's license? You don't have a... Where's your California driver's license?
I don't live here. I give you a Canadian driver's
So that's
license.
exactly what I'm trying to figure out. You're giving me smart answers, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of something.
It's not a smart answer.
It
I don't.
kinda is.
You're not customs. I don't need to explain to you why I'm here.
Okay, so you need a California driver's license to drive in California.
No, you don't.
Are you a tourist?
Yes.
Okay, do you have your passport with you?
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
Do you have your international driver's license?
Excuse me?
Do you
No,
have
you
your
don't.
international driver's license?
You're a cop. You should know I don't need that. I'm a Canadian citizen. You have a treaty with us. I'm gonna exit the vehicle to get my passport.
What is that? You actually do need it, just so you
In
know.
the front.
Okay, we'll find out right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Why'd you pull me over?
Your modified exhaust, the stop sign you
There's
just
no
ran.
modified exhaust.
Okay.
And the what?
The front.
The what? Were you
The
about to
front
say?
is so small,
You just
dude.
ran.
I didn't run a stop sign.
Just saw you.
Which one?
Lamita, sit down.
Which one?
I just told you. You're so busy asking me questions. You're not answering my. You're not listening to my answers. I said the one on Lamitas.
I didn't run any stop sign.
The
I have
front.
everything on camera.
It's a trunk, but in the front.
That's fine. So do I.
Pardon?
I said so do I.
Sure.
What is
Turn the
ego
car around,
battle?
man.
No, I won't. Wow. International driver's license. He obviously doesn't know what he's talking about.
The officer asks Mr. Fryer if he has an international driver's license and informs him that he is required to possess a driver's license issued by the state of California in order to legally drive in the state. The officer is likely referring to an international driving permit, which is commonly mistaken as an international driver's license, but does not carry the same degree of privilege as an actual license issued by a government body. An international
that?
driving permit is a translation of a domestic driver's license that allows the holder to drive a private motor vehicle in any country or jurisdiction that recognizes the document. International driving permits are governed by 3 international conventions: the 1926 Paris International Convention relative to motor traffic, the 1949 Geneva Convention on road traffic, and the 1968 Vienna Convention.
In 1930? Did it?
3 international
Okay.
conventions. The 1926
because I
Paris
thought they had
International
horses and
Convention
shit at the
relative to
time.
motor traffic.
1930, was the car even invented at the time or not?
3 international conventions. The
Nick, tu peux pas avoir des documents ici pour que je puisse le signer?
Non, c'est à l'autre place. Puis c'est pour ce gars.
Il faut falloir qu'il me parle, whatever, ou...
Ouais.
Ouais.
1926 Paris
je vais
International
m'asseoir,
Convention
je vais-
relative to motor traffic, the 1949 Geneva Convention on road traffic, and the 1968 Vienna Convention on road traffic. When a state is contracted to more than one convention, the newest one terminates and replaces previous ones. International driving permits are currently recognized by approximately 150 countries and jurisdictions under the authority of the Vienna and Geneva Conventions, respectively. Although the United States is among the countries that recognizes international driving permits, they are not necessarily required in every situation, and each state has the power to dictate what form of driver's license they choose to accept. However, in
California
1943,
does
the
not
United
care.
States entered into an exclusive agreement with Canada, Mexico, and other South American countries that allowed interstate travel without the requirement for an international driving permit at the Convention on the Regulation of Inter-American Automotive Traffic. Furthermore, while California Vehicle Code 12500 states that, quote, a person may not drive a motor vehicle upon a highway unless the person then holds a valid...
Dude, I think California police is pretty chill most of the time because dude, they see it all. They've seen, dude. It's California. It's LA.
Driver's
like,
license issued under this code. The code also clearly
Dude,
recognizes that
LA.
certain persons may be exempt from this law. And California Vehicle Code 12502 lists, quote,
What?
a non-resident over the age of 18 years having in his or her immediate possession a valid driver's license issued by a foreign jurisdiction of which he or she is a resident as a valid exemption. Mr. Fryer is well within his rights to travel
not
into
chill?
any American state without first acquiring a license issued by that state. And that has been the case for nearly a century.
How you doing?
Great, how are you?
Awesome, man. I'm allowed to film you.
I didn't say you weren't.
I don't know why you're shining the light on my camera then.
I'm just making sure I can see inside the car.
And is 11 out on the foot beat?
Well, you don't need to do that by following the
You seem
camera.
very defensive, sir. Why is that?
Because you pull me over and you don't know what for.
okay,
I told you what
the
for.
flashlight's pretty
Look at the
standard.
camera,
It's
You'll
not.
be able to see what for.
I didn't do anything though. You lied about the stop sign,
I didn't
and you
lie.
don't understand what exhaust is on my car.
Here you go.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I'm citing you for not having a California driver's license, and I'm also citing you for having a modified exhaust. So go ahead and
What?
sign right here, send admission of guilt, just promise you'll take care of the citation.
What's that for?
I just told you.
What?
No, you didn't. What was it?
Modified exhaust, right? One.
Yeah.
You're not having a California driver's license.
I don't need a California driver's license.
Okay, so can you sign here, please?
And if I don't?
I have to take you to jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Here, the officer informs Mr. Fryer that if he
Yeah.
refuses
I feel like modified exhausts are only a problem when they're like really fucking loud, or they emit some weird dog smoke it shouldn't do or whatever, or it presents a hazard. Otherwise, it's not a problem.
to sign the citation, then he will be taken to jail, which aligns with California law. Under subsection B of California Vehicle Code 40302, an individual may be arrested and taken before a magistrate if they, quote, refuse to give his or her written promise to appear in court,
Guys,
which is
I'm not sure, guys. The McLaren, it spits some juice at the back. What is that? What is that? Sometimes in the exhaust at the back, there's like a small liquid. Sometimes. What is that?
essentially translates to refusing to sign a citation.
Maybe it's
As
water.
the officer explained, citations are not an
Yeah, probably
admission
wa-
of
oh,
guilt.
yeah,
and they
water
serve
is
as
a
nothing more than
condensation.
a promise to appear before the court regarding the alleged violation. As we have discussed many times on ATA, officers are generally within their authority to arrest citizens for nearly
Stop. Okay.
any violation, regardless of whether the violation is a misdemeanor or a felony offense. And citations offer citizens a convenient way to avoid being taken to jail until they can appear before a magistrate. If Mr. Fryer had refused to sign the citation, the Beverly Hills officer would have been well within his authority to arrest him and take him to jail until a magistrate became available. It should be noted that not all states have drafted laws that require citizens to sign citations, and it is often left to the officer's discretion and departmental policy to determine the appropriate course of action. The Beverly Hills officer also informs Mr. Fryer that he is being issued a citation for a modified exhaust, and Mr. Fryer claims that he does not have an aftermarket exhaust on his vehicle. Section 27150.1
Let's
of the
see what it
California
says.
Vehicle Code prohibits the sale and installation of motor vehicle exhaust systems that fail to meet the regulations and standards applicable to the code. And Section 27150.2 states that exhaust systems installed on motor vehicles with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight rating of less than 6,000 pounds may emit no more than 95 decibels of sound when tested in accordance with Society of Automotive Engineers standard. Therefore, even if Mr. Fryer's exhaust system was not modified in any way, he may still be in violation of California's vehicle code if his exhaust emits a sound louder than 95 decibels. When a citizen is issued a citation for a modified exhaust in California, they are generally required to obtain a certificate of compliance from a state testing facility pursuant to Section 44036 of the California Health and Safety Code to ensure that their vehicle is compliant with
A state testing facility. So you buy a car with an exhaust, and you have to bring it to the government and say, "Yo, put the machine with the sound thing on it."
California's exhaust noise standard.
give me my
Whether or not Mr. Fryer was actually in violation of California's exhaust laws is impossible to determine without the proper sound measuring equipment. But
Yeah,
the officer
exactly.
would be within his authority to issue Mr. Fryer a citation for a modified exhaust based on his observations, and allow a court to determine whether the citation was in fact valid.
Is that
And I feel like if this behavior is made out of pettiness, right? And you can establish a profile of that, I feel like that's just really bad.
part of the like
Couldn't you, like,
not
go to
having a
court and,
driver's
like,
license thing
Part
too?
of California.
Because if you
Like
go
I said,
around
it's not-
doing that to everybody, and you make them all go to court, and you make them all go to fucking state dog shit all the time, I feel like it becomes a disaster.
Admission of guilt, just promising you'll take care of the citation.
It's just baiting people
So
to go
with
to
that
the
being
government.
said,
like,
your car is subject to tow.
What?
Why? Because you're driving your own license in California.
I can do that.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can. I have a Canadian driver's license. It's not illegal to drive here with that.
Okay, that's what I'm telling you. So my suggestion to you is I'm not going to tow your car. I'm letting you know that your car is subject to tow. Okay? So with that being said, I suggest that you probably go and park your car somewhere and not drive anymore. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any questions about it?
Yeah, I just don't understand how you don't understand the law and how you're like enforcing something on me that's not legal.
Okay.
What?
Like I said,
Yeah, it's all good.
you're innocent until proven guilty, right?
Yeah, for
like
sure.
I said, the site, it's an admission of guilt. Just promise you'll take care of the citation.
Yeah.
With that being said, sir, if I see you again driving the car, I will tow it.
You have no permission to tow my car.
I do.
No, you don't.
Okay, so I can do it now. I'm choosing not to. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting into this little match with you. I'm just letting you know, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
advising you right now because I would rather not do that.
It's because you know you can't.
I can.
I mean, you can, but at the end
I
of the day,
absolutely
I'm right,
can.
you're wrong, but you'll still do it. I get it.
Here, the officer informs Mr. Fryer that his vehicle is subject to being towed because he does not have a California-issued driver's license, and Mr. Fryer disagrees. As we discussed earlier, Mr. Fryer's Canadian driver's license is recognized by all 50 states as valid, and the officer would not be within his authority to tow Mr. Fryer's vehicle based on this violation.
Guys,
all that said,
I feel like tows are so like rude to vehicles. I think they break them and shit. And when I see a car getting towed, I'm like, dude, how is it not gonna like break the car? Like fuck,
officers
man.
are permitted to make reasonable mistakes while in the field under the doctrine of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is a legal concept that protects government officials from lawsuits alleging that the official violated a citizen's rights, and was first formulated in the 1982 Supreme Court case of Harlow versus Fitzgerald. The Fitzgerald case established the notion of qualified immunity for federal government officials, and it wasn't until the 1986 case of Malley versus Briggs that the Supreme Court considered expanding the protections offered by qualified immunity to state police officers. The notion of qualified immunity is built upon the idea that officers should not be subject to being sued for making an honest mistake in the field, and whether or not an officer is entitled to qualified immunity depends largely on the reasonableness of their actions. In the 1987 case of Anderson versus Creighton, the Supreme Court held that, quote, whether an official protected by qualified immunity may be held personally liable for an allegedly unlawful official action generally turns on the objective legal reasonableness assessed in light of the legal rules that were clearly established at the time it was taken. The court concluded that so long as an officer's actions were reasonable and no clearly established jurisprudence existed to show otherwise, then
The problem that I see with this is that I think that there's like no winner. Like let's say let's say the guy was full petty and decided to he does tow the car, right? If you have a nice cool car and it's like brand new, whatever, dude, having it tow, it just kind of sucks, dude. And yeah, like you know, it's not like oh, dude, like. You can just repair it, dude. Yeah, but it's like brand new. It's nice. It's chill. Why?
then they would
like,
be entitled to qualified immunity
sucks, man.
regardless of their actions. There are a litany of issues associated with
Any
qualified
car.
immunity, but one of its biggest flaws is the notion that police misconduct must violate a right that had already been clearly established by previous cases, which essentially leaves first-time victims of police misconduct with no legitimate recourse for their experiences. For example, in the 2017 Supreme Court case of Baxter versus Bracey, an appeals court ruled that it was not clearly established that it was unconstitutional to release a police dog on a surrendering suspect sitting with his arms raised, despite the fact that the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals had previously ruled that officers violated the Fourth Amendment when they released a police dog on a suspect who had surrendered by lying down. The officers essentially hinged their argument for qualified immunity on the distinction between sitting down with hands raised as a form of surrender versus laying down on the ground. These ambiguous distinctions in what is and is not considered clearly established law are a major point of controversy, and many legal scholars contend that the current interpretation of qualified immunity has devolved into an all-encompassing shield to protect obvious corruption and misconduct. Since its inception, the qualified immunity doctrine has been thoroughly criticized for failing to consider the practical and human implications associated with the concept. But nonetheless, the Supreme Court has refused to consider cases challenging the legality and constitutionality of the doctrine, although it has had many opportunities to address the subject. So while the officer was clearly wrong about his authority to tow Mr. Fryer's vehicle, there is a very high chance that he would be entitled to qualified immunity if he had decided to tow the car, because of the lack of clearly established precedent regarding the legality of driving without a state-issued license.
Wait, what?
That's
He's
the
playing
way I feel
hardball.
about
It's
it.
all good, dude.
Okay, so like I said, if I see you again, I will tow your car, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? have yourself a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
Wait, because there's no case law that is directly applying to that very specific, since it's like a gray area when it's really not, they can say that it kind of is.
After
And just
issuing
do whatever
Mr.
the
Fryer
fuck?
citations for driving without a valid license and a modified exhaust, he left the scene without further incident. After conferring with his friends for a moment, Mr. Fryer got back into his vehicle and drove to the Beverly Hills Police Station to file a formal complaint.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Johnny.
tell me,
I'm gonna record this. If that's cool.
it's already recorded.
No,
24/7.
For myself.
Okay.
Thanks.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, what documentation do you have, like as far as your ID or license, or because you got to understand, I'm trying to recreate what you're telling me happened in the field.
Yeah. Valid insurance and registration.
So you're visiting?
I am.
Okay. And you reside?
In British Columbia
Columbia.
and Victoria, yes.
Okay.
And that's all valid current information.
Any foreign resident that has a foreign issued driver's license.
I'm
you
not a
can drive.
resident.
No, I'm just saying
Oh,
they
okay.
can drive,
Fair
right?
enough, yeah.
So you got a citation for something you should not have received.
Correct.
That's item 1.
And then the threat to take my vehicle away from me based on that citation, which doesn't exist.
Okay, so the good news is that did not happen. You have your car.
He's a little
I
bit
have my car at the moment, but I want to go
he's a
for
little
dinner
bit
in
jumpy,
Beverly
this
Hills,
guy.
and I don't want to be harassed while I'm here for the rest of my 5-day visit.
Got it. Okay. So then what is the desired outcome? Do you want me to speak to the officer about this? What is your end goal? What is it that you'd like
Okay,
to
it is also wrong. I mean, you should speak regardless.
happen?
Correct. I've been through
You
this.
should
So,
ask citizens what
I
should
would
be
like,
done.
I'd
So
like
somebody
to
who
file
did
a
wrong in the
complaint,
police force,
and
like
I'd like
what?
the officer to be educated on the international, Canadian, U.S. driving, whatever the legal jargon is, that I can drive on this license. And I'm not to have my vehicle towed if he sees me around Beverly Hills again.
Okay.
I could very easily say I don't want to file a complaint. I just want him to talk to the officer. But I have a funny feeling in this situation that if he only talks to the officer, there will be nothing on record that I was ever here and this has ever happened. So I'm going to make sure I file a complaint. That way, if this does happen a second time, there will be a record of it.
So what kind of car
That's
do you
not a
have?
bad take at all, actually.
2016 Lamborghini Huracan.
Ooh, nice. I'm not a big car guy, but that sounds expensive. What else can we help you with?
That's it.
That's it.
I would just like to go for dinner and not get pulled over and get my car towed tonight. Is that going to work? Or is Pena gonna enforce that?
Just drive safely. That's all I can say.
I always do, sir.
All right, nice meeting you. Take care, sir. Thank you.
After filing his complaint, Mr. Fryer left the station and went to dinner without any issues. It is unclear whether Mr. Fryer followed up this encounter with additional legal action. Overall, the Beverly Hills officer gets an F for misrepresenting California's license requirements, displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of the laws regarding foreign drivers, and for threatening to tow Mr. Fryer's vehicle despite having no legal authority to do so. It is clear from the video that the officer was not within his authority to issue Mr. Fryer a citation for driving without a license,
F
but it is
minus plus
impossible to
bald.
determine whether this officer issued these citations out of ignorance or negligence. Whatever the case may be, it is difficult to justify being unaware of a nearly 100-year-old agreement between major countries that directly applies to many aspects of policing. And given the fact that Beverly Hills is one of the foremost tourist destinations in the entire country, it's also hard to believe that this officer has never
You enjoyed the
encountered
video?
a foreign driver's
I'm glad
license
you-
before.
thanks
As
for-
mentioned earlier, it would be
I'll make it in
extremely
a chat.
difficult for Mr. Fryer to seek any kind of
Positive
recompense if his
comment,
car
holy shit,
had been
man.
towed due to the current interpretation of qualified immunity. And this interaction highlights the fact that qualified immunity can play a role in even the most minuscule and unassuming police encounters. It should also be noted that the officer originally claimed that he stopped Mr. Fryer for running a stop sign, but ultimately did not issue him a citation for
That's
it.
what I was gonna
This
say.
is an interesting aspect of the encounter because it was the only offense that the officer would have had undeniable evidence to prove in court if he were recording the encounter as he claimed. It is unclear why the officer did not write Mr. Fryer a citation for running the stop sign, but it very well could have been because Mr. Fryer informed the officer that he had a dash cam and had been recording as well. Much of the officer's conduct in this interaction is questionable and subject to speculation, but I will leave it to you to decide what you believe the officer's true intentions were. Mr. Fryer gets an A+ for remaining calm and collected throughout.
Okay, he gets an A. He's a little bit jumpy by the end. A little jumpy here and there. Come
the
on now.
interaction, respectfully
A.
challenging the officer's conduct, and for following up this encounter with the proper channel of complaint. Despite being
He gets
issued
A.
questionable
Not gonna play the
citations,
Warner
threatened
Brothers
to have his
Smash
car
style
towed, and
fighting
likely subjected
He
to
got a little bit
illegal
bitchy
detainment,
and didn't
Mr.
listen a
Fryer
lot.
remained sincere and professional through the entire stop. This is the second encounter for Mr. Fryer's YouTube channel that I have featured here on ATA, and his ability to remain calm and cordial while challenging officers is commendable. Mr. Fryer was well aware of the legalities surrounding foreign driver's licenses, and he made a legitimate effort to inform the officer that he was making a mistake. Not only did Mr. Fryer follow up this interaction with a formal complaint, but he also documented the entire process to ensure that evidence of his complaint existed independently from the paper form that he submitted to the department.
Okay, chat guys, all you in chat guys, I actually like these guys' videos a lot. I think they're really good. It's like a nice educational segment, so the stream I like a lot. Okay,